Welcome to the 20th 2-0 rally, worthy rally for hope and kindness. I am so excited. Never in a million years would have known that I'd been doing number 20. But this effort started back in June 2020, actually, with the idea of just making it a one-time thing to just bring a little hope and kindness during a time that the world seemed to be so negative. But it obviously has evolved into so many new friendships and wonderful people sharing their stories, sometimes for the first time ever, and other times just giving others the courage to share their own story. Again, the goal of these every single month is to come together just to remind us that no matter what you've been going through or what life has dealt you, there is hope. There is hope, and it starts with you. As you can see from all the speakers that we've had over the months and over the years, and today, they kept going no matter what life threw at them, and they took initiative to make sure that they could live their purpose, because we all know and hope you know that you are here on purpose, despite what life hands you. So how this rally is going to work, if you are new to the rally, as a reminder, we have a couple storytellers, courageous souls that have come up today and are in line to share their stories. I'm going to start off with a brief story myself, and then I'm going to kick it off to the first speaker with an introduction. They each have 10 minutes to share whatever comes from their heart, story of perseverance, courage, defying the odds, whatever, you name it, whatever they feel is right to share at this moment. The goal is to empower and inspire others. And I can ask all of you a favor as well, because you all play a critical role in this. Some of these stories get pretty sensitive and personal, and some of these go back to speakers feeling like they're back in that moment of when they really came out of their shell and when they really stood up for themselves. If you feel like the speaker, you feel like they need some extra support and push in telling their story and continuing, please show them some love with either an old-fashioned heart with your hands or the heart emoji. If you feel like you can relate to what the speakers are saying, also please share a heart, because knowing that you are touching someone and that they hear you and that you can relate really means a lot. So that's the way this is going to work. Again, so happy you guys are all here. What I wanted to start off with is, this is the first rally of January, of actually 2022, January. It's always a special time because as we always, if you can relate to many people, they make New Year resolutions or they focus on new things or to improve themselves and so forth. But if you know me, I'm not one to focus on New Year resolutions. Instead, I like to focus on a word that's going to guide me, on a theme that's going to guide me for the rest of the year. In 2020, I started this tradition for myself. In 2020, my theme was believe. Sure enough, that's when this whole worthy rally kicked off, and I would have never believed this would have kicked off and gone where it should. Then in 2021, my word was voice. I felt I needed to speak up for myself, but also believe in myself and share more of my insights to the world in hopes of helping more people. Sure enough, I went through some speaker training and I recorded my first video and promotion for and applying for a TEDx talk. So I'm on my way, not there yet, but I'm on my way. This year, the word that came to me, and I just let the words come to me, is love. Sounds simple, sounds easy, sounds, oh, okay, Andrea, you didn't stretch that far. Actually, I did, because love is probably the toughest of the three words so far for me. Not so much that I don't receive love in my life, but it's more for self-love. I am so bad at loving myself. I take a look back and see all the initiatives that I have started, whether I've met you through Twitter on my Dare to Be chats, or whether I've met you through these worthy rallies or the groups called Humans First, or some of you at the Houston Writers Guild, shout out to them if they're here. Whatever it may be, I realize that I tend to hide behind communities and making others feel like they're worthy rather than focus on myself. I like to hide like that. And it's time to really put myself in the spotlight and walk the talk myself. Not to say I don't want to, not to say I haven't tried, but there's that aspect of self-love that I really need to embrace. It starts with that. I can tell myself every single day that I'm going to believe in myself, that I'm going to start new initiatives and I'm going to follow my dreams. Andrea, you're awesome. Look in the mirror, give myself affirmations. But if I don't love myself, nothing is going to budge. It's just repeating words, having routines. So self-love is a tough one. And it got me thinking. Actually, I want you guys to think of someone that you love so much that you do anything for. Maybe it's a child, maybe it's your own child, a family member, your spouse, a community member, anyone. Put that person in your mind. What wouldn't you do for them? Probably nothing. I'm thinking of my child. I would do anything for my child. I think my child is amazing. There's unconditional love there. I could care less what other people think about my child. I could care less about the judgment that others may have. There's always going to be judgment. So why do we treat ourselves any different? We need to love ourselves in that same way. After all, if we didn't exist, none of this would exist. None of what you created would exist. So why do we treat ourselves any different? Who cares if there's judgment? Who cares if there's naysayers? There's always going to be people that you're not going to click with, and your mission isn't for everyone. But you need to love yourself and believe in yourself just like you believe and love that child. And right now, I'm saying that to myself too. So I never know, like I always say this every single time in every single rally, I never know what I'm going to say in these introductions. They just comes to me the morning of. And what came to me, the phrase that came to me this morning when I woke up was, step it up. Step into your power. Step it up. What's the next step? That's what I wanted to challenge all of you, is to step it up. But Andrea, I've already stepped it up so much. I've already published my next book. I've already created a seminar. I've already left my full-time job and had my own company and blah, 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 blah. All great things, all wonderful things. But there's something else that you can do to step it up. And maybe it's not such big milestones. Maybe it's in just believing in yourself a little more. Step it up. Give yourself a break. Next time you hear some judgment or some criticism, be aware of it. Step it up and defend yourself, your inner self against your inner critic. Step it up. So that's how I want to start off today. And as a reminder, all of these people here have stepped it up to come and tell their stories. And I want to invite first my friend Jason Freeman. Jason, I didn't meet that long ago, actually. I met through some virtual friends and through a show that I was watching. And he is just such an inspiration. No matter what life has thrown at him, he has kept going. He has stepped it up. And I can tell that he really, really has a sense of self-love because he is using what life threw at him to really step it up and inspire others and be the brave face and take the courage to educate and create a true legacy. I am so excited and honored to have Jason here. Jason Freeman, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so thrilled to be part of this. Like the idea of really learning really teaching ourselves how to feel worthy of the life we lead is just so important. It's one of the most crucial things ever, if not the most crucial, because if we don't feel worthy of our own life, we're not going to help other people feel worthy of theirs, because we cannot give what we don't have. Yes, I'm Jason Freeman. I'm a perseverance coach and a professional speaker who ironically has a speech impediment. And I come to my comments on worthiness from a path of not feeling worthy at all. You see, when I was a little kid, my parents raised me in such a way that I was oblivious to my speech impediment and coordination differences. But by the time I reached 7th grade, I was just so concerned about my appearance and that I wasn't like everyone else. And to make matters worse, I was in 7th grade back in the 80s, and I was terrified of nuclear war breaking out between the United States and the USSR. And in the little kid who felt he was capable of everything had completely vanished, and I had become this teenager who didn't want to be here, who utterly hated his life, who couldn't envision himself as anything. I couldn't think of an end of an AIND that would take me from the point I was in to my future. So I attempted to take my own life. Can you imagine 7th grade, just a little kid? And as I say this, my prayer for all our young people is when they get in tough situations, that they will listen to their hearts and pause and be patient and call for help like I did. And it was great that Andrea, thanks for organizing this and creating this amazing thing, number 20. And in your speech, Willie, Tommy, your talk, Tommy, my word for 2022, and I've never been into picking a word for a year. I've never been into it at all. I'm like life is so fast. Why pick one word, you know? But my word for 2022, and I invite us all to consider this word. If not your specific word, consider it as an important word, and that is patience. That is patience. I mean, we've been going for 2 years in a pandemic that none of us anticipated, none of us planned for, a pandemic that has made our life radically different than it was in 2019, and we might be nearing the end, but as of today, it's still going on. It's still going on. But we can also have vision. that's what the 7th grader I was who got into trouble didn't have. He didn't have vision of a bigger future. He didn't have vision that he could take his life step by step by step by step and become something more. He had no idea that he would become a professional speaker. Heck, he hated his voice. He thought his voice wasn't worth anything. So I mean, right now where we are today, we might think about our future, and we might have a certain vision, a certain idea of what is to come. But we can acknowledge that idea, yes, and acknowledge that's my idea today, and at the same time acknowledge that life could be so much more than, it could be so much more vast than anything we can see right now. The way corners work is we don't know what's around them. We're going one way and we turn a corner and it can be totally different. And right now we're going one way, and then there's going to be corners that we turn in 2022. And those corners could lead us into such an expanded life. I mean, yes, those corners could also lead us into more challenges. But what I'm learning is from challenges comes the possibility of growth. From challenges comes the possibility of growth. And so we don't, like, it's tempting to be frightened right now and think, oh, these last few years have led to one challenge and another. I wonder what the next shoe to drop will be. But also around a corner can be brilliance. It can be utter brilliance. So I invite all of us, including me, to be patient as we go through this year and be curious what's around the corners, because what's around the corner might be so life expanding beyond anything we've seen. Like Andrea and I just met through mutual friends like a few months ago, and suddenly I'm on this call and I'm getting ready to be inspired by profound stories. There's no way I could have anticipated the beauty of this morning like a few months ago. It just didn't exist in my awareness. And if I tried imagining something, it wouldn't have been this. This is so much better. Your life can be so much better than your imaginings. And so, and as I say this, I realize I'm not trying to minimize any of the challenges. The challenges exist, but the challenges exist, and the potential brilliance also exists. The challenges exist, and the potential brilliance also exists. And if we can, and let's see ourselves worthy of experiencing all of it and go in the direction we want to go. I'm so honored to be here. I'm so excited to hear the rest of the stories. And thank you, Andrea. I don't know if I'm saying it. I with Andrea, I always forget, but thank you because of what you said, patience is now my word. Thank you very much, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Wow. Jason Freeman, everybody. That is what a way to kick it off. Jason, I hope you take some time to look at all the comments in the chat. You have blown people away. So many kind words and lots of inspiration from you, Jason. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any comments for Jason or questions? Can anyone relate to what he said? Who's Melody? Hi, Melody.
Hello. Jason, you remind me of the show that my grandson wanted us to watch last night. And it's called Walk, Ride, Rodeo. And it's a movie on Netflix. And one of the quotes in it, I had to write down. And when you're faced with a big challenge, you have choices to either give up, give in, or give it your all. Sorry about that. You can either give up, give in, or give it your all. And you're giving it your all, and you're inspiring so many people doing it. So keep going.
That's such a beautiful quote, Melody. Thanks. I hadn't heard that before. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
That was beautiful, Melody. Thank you. I want to remind everyone, not just the speakers, but anybody, feel free and write your details in the chat of how people can get a hold of you. If you have any books, or if you have any sessions coming up, or anything you recommend, just put them in the chat. Welcome everybody to do so. Anything else for Jason before we move on? Roger. Hi, Roger.
Hi, Andrea. Hi, Jason. Nice to put a face to the name. I just wanted to very briefly say, as usual, that was a talk that I was more moved by than my own story. And I just want to say thank you so much for sharing with us from a place of positivity, resilience, and also showing the level of vulnerability that you did. And also a big thank you for using that to inspire the next generation, which is something that I can so resonate with, and look forward to you and I speaking outside of the meeting. But on behalf of everyone, thank you so much again, Jason. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you, Roger. So great to see you. Okay, so now I have the honor to introduce just such a powerful person, Rachel Beck. Rachel was, this is my fault. She was supposed to go first, but she came in and it had my name instead of Rachel Beck. And so I was really confused. Like, I finally found a way to clone myself. Yay! So I changed her name. So I'm sorry, Rachel, I didn't realize you were there. So Rachel, I am so honored to have you here. You have been on my list to be on this rally for a very long time. I've just recently spoke to Rachel not too long ago for the first time, but I have been following her work for a while. We are in similar groups, and she has these videos as well. If you haven't seen her, please follow her. She has these videos that are just so powerful. Her strength is definitely contagious, and she brings out the best in people and challenges people to really be true to themselves. So Rachel, I am so glad that you are here, and I can't wait to hear your story.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I really am grateful. I'm very appreciative. And it's lovely to meet everybody who I haven't met before. I love that you're sharing people's stories, because there's a tremendous amount of people who make a lot of assumptions about us, who we are. They see us, they see our face, but they don't know our stories. And that's what I've been tackling for the last 2 years, is to tell the stories of the content creators on LinkedIn, so people understand who they are. My story is very complicated. It's very deep. I was set up for failure at the beginning of my life. I was born in India. My mom died 2 days after giving birth. I'm looking for my biological father. And I was put into the home of the founder of an orphanage. And I was adopted by an incredible family. I am an Indian Jewish woman. it gets very, very complicated from there. I battled a disease for 20 years. I battled endometriosis, multiple surgeries. I did donate one of my ovaries to science to help find a cure for this disease. I've lost 2 children, which people don't know about, and that's why I get very frustrated. People are like, Rachel, do you have children? No, I've had 2 miscarriages. I've also had a failed adoption where I met a child, fell in love with her, and lost her. I use my voice for the infertility community. I use my voice to end racism. I've dealt with a tremendous amount of racism in my life. And some of the most scary experiences I've gone through have been during this pandemic. So I'm really passionate about that. I use my voice in anti-Semitism. I use my voice for the infertility community who feels very, very alone every Mother's Day and Father's Day when everybody's dropping those posts, wishing everybody a Mother's Day, and then they're leaving out a huge part of the population. So I do a post for the people who are going through that Mother's Day and Father's Day. I'm trying to leave a footprint of positivity in this world. It's very important. Only 5 people in this world know the goal that I'm trying to accomplish, but every day it's why I get up, is because I don't forget where I come from. I go back, I stay at the orphanage. Part of the proceeds of my book are actually getting donated back to the orphanage, and I'm going to hit my goal when it comes to helping them. So that's why I get up and I do everything I do. The only way you're going to succeed in life or in business is through a level of respect and kindness. And that's why I'm truly trying to teach people, because I collaborate with people who are respectful, kind. I will publicly endorse them. So that's what I'm doing every day. There's way, way, way more to my story. None of it's been easy. And so I'll wake up and someone will say, Rachel, your life is great, wonderful, perfect. And I write them back and go, no, 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 and no. Do you know my story? Because they don't take the time to get to know it. I made a conscious choice every time to get back up. Was it easy? No. Did I have moments when I wanted to put the blanket over my head? Absolutely. I also battle PTSD due to a deeply traumatic event in my life. I've escaped 2 rapes. I was very fortunate because one person, actually both situations, people saved me from complete strangers too, but I was lucky that I was saved from this situation. So no, it's I share all this and I'm very public on it on social media to give people the strength to tell them that they don't have to quit, that it takes a tremendous amount of courage to be vulnerable on social media. None of it's easy. It's hard for us to get up every day. I'm teaching women to support other women because that is necessary. No woman will succeed in this world if she does not have the support from other women. So I'm deeply passionate about that. There's no room for jealousy, hate, negativity, none of it. We are stepping into the age of women. That is what's going on. I have a friend who's PhD who is studying this. And she wrote me and said, Rachel, keep going. We are in the age of women and it begins now. So I'm trying to also teach women how to do this, to come together, and that when we come together, that energy will blanket this planet and we are going to take it to a whole other level. So I'm trying to teach all this daily. I'm trying to introduce people to people who they need to know, and I do that. I also promote a show, and so I produce that show every single day too. So that's what I'm trying to do. Be a light, be a candle for all these people in this world who need our help.
Wow, Rachel, every time you share your story again with me, I'm just speechless because you certainly are the definition of strength, but also of being just a thriver despite what life throws at you. And I so look up to that and to you. What has kept you going? I mean, life has thrown so much at you, but there was something that kept you going and wouldn't let you just give up. What was that?
My purposes. Look, I have a choice. I can either fall down and say I'm done, and this, no, like it's not an option for me. It's my purposes. Sometimes you need to have those hard conversations to take things forward in life. But I've had moments, I had a truck chase me down. And I kind of shared this. I used my voice for reason. I had a truck chase me down. I was taking a walk one day, screaming the N-word at me. And I kept going. And then the truck turned around and ran back with the truck. And these 4 guys did it again. So I take that negativity, I take that pain, and I'm like, I'm going to keep going. And guess what? In the very end, that voice of kindness is going to win. And that's the biggest problem. The voice of hate in this world is very, very loud. What I'm trying to do is take that voice of kindness and love and make it even louder. It's a choice. It's a conscious choice. I've had many moments where I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to do this again. I've had 3 near-death experiences in my life. So I'm grateful every day to be here. I mean, I've had 3 near-death experiences, and I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet.
You definitely are not done yet. Rachel, you're such an inspiration. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone have comments or anything to say to Rachel?
Thank you for the comments.
Yes, beautiful comments for Rachel.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Mariah. Thank you.
Anyone want to say anything? Bill?
Beautiful, Rachel, and touching. The voice of kindness is going to win. That's a theme in our home. And if there's negativity towards us, we can counter that and go double down on kindness. As you say, we have a choice. We have a choice.
Yeah, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it, and we're going to keep doing it. And to the point that, where all the rallies are in this country, in this world for hate, there's going to be those rallies for kindness, and we're going to be marching these streets. And I know people who are working on this now for this to happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.
Beautiful share, Bill, Rachel. Jenny?
Yes, there's a quote that comes to mind from Albert Camus, if I can read that to you.
Of course.
In the midst of hate, I found there was within me an invincible love. In the midst of tears, oh gosh, I found there was within me an invincible smile. In the midst of chaos, I find there was within me an invincible calm. I realized through it all that in the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. And that makes me happy. For it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me there's something stronger, something better pushing right back. Thank you so much for sharing. I'll send this to you.
Thank
yes.
you so much. I can't see it. Thank you so much. That was really beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was beautiful. Can you write who wrote that, Jenny, in the chat so we can look it up?
Albert Camus. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I will put that in the chat. Mm.
Wonderful. Wow. Thank you, Rachel. As always, keep being you.
Thank you for your encouragement.
Reminder to us all. Next, I want to welcome Carl Shawn. There he is. Carl Shawn, I was been meaning to connect with Carl Shawn for months and months. And we finally connected yesterday, but he too was one that I was eyeing for this rally for a while. We flow in similar circles. We've been in kind of attendees in the different shows that are all for inspiration and lifting people up. And there was just something about him. You could tell by the words that he shared and the insights that he spoke. There was heart-filled language there and some kindness and also a deep desire to make a difference. Carl, Shawn, I'm so happy that you're here and I'm glad we finally met and I can't wait to hear your story.
Hello and good morning to everyone. I'm just in awe, as I always am, of God's people, because we all have stories of perseverance, and it just brings a joy and open up the floodgates to my heart. Jason, man, uh, I don't even have the words, and I normally have a lot of them, but I don't have the words. Rachel, I don't have the words to talk about the courage that it has taken both of you guys to come and stand as giants in the obstacles and the things that you have faced. And that is so encouraging, I'm sure, not only to me, but to everyone on this platform and also to those that you share with on your platforms as well. Who I am. I'm Carl Shawn Watkins. Title wise, I can give you many. I am a law student, a legal assistant, worked in corporate over 30 years. Right now, I empower leaders in the DEI space to kind of overcome their fears of vulnerability and their self-limiting beliefs, and thereby transforming them into being leaders people want to follow. Because we got a lot of leaders, but everybody don't want to follow everybody that carries that title. So that's what I do, if you would say, as an occupation. What I do from heart, spirit, is what I'm going to share with you now. My story has 3 points of transformation, and I kind of highlighted those parts in my life that was important to share. And definitely I share in the course of my platform, but I'll share in all 3 of them with you guys today. Um, I'm a kid from Chicago. I was born in the streets of Chicago, bad neighborhood, gangs, drugs, violence. That's what I grew up in. I was born in '67, but my first point of transformation was 1972. But my dad gave me a dictionary for a Christmas gift. I enjoy reading and writing. I started reading at a very young age. Comic books, everything. About 4 or 5, I was actually reading, and my mom said I was special. But that's what all moms tell their kids, right? You're special. It meant nothing more to me than just my mom telling it. The second point of transformation in my life came in 1973. At the age of 6 years old, I was molested by my uncle, my dad's brother, war veteran, um, Vietnam War veteran. Came home. He was the king of the family. He went over there and fought the war. He didn't get killed. He got his little medals. Came home and he could do no wrong to no one in our family. And my mother and father saw this as a prime person that could babysit me after school. Oftentimes you think of the avenues that people have, and sometimes they don't have to look. The avenues are given to them. And this happened for quite a few years. And in the midst of who he was and what he was to our family, I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't tell anybody about it. And I found solace in a couple of things. I wrote a lot and read a lot. That was the positive solace. The second solace was alcohol. Numbed the pain, took me away, gave me another place to be where I didn't have to face what was going on. And this happened for a lot of years. I was an alcoholic and still getting good grades. I was an alcoholic and I was an athlete. I was an alcoholic playing 3 sports in high school, drinking for breakfast, going to class, getting A's, mind you. How could it happen? I think that's where people come up with the term working alcoholic, right? There was nothing working in me but the gift of God. The third point of that transformation was the reason why I knew that everything that I went through had a purpose for someone besides me. In 1985, I joined the military, the U.S. Army. 19-year-old kid from Chicago, wanted to get away, and I got thrust into Germany. Wow, right? Never been out of Chicago before that time. And here I am as a 19-year-old from one culture of extreme to another of extreme, in a whole new language, a whole new place I had never been. But there was one thing that I carried there to Germany with me. That was Carl, that alcoholic molested kid who never was able to talk to anybody about anything that went on with him. So that trend continued in the military. It continued. I was broken. addicted. And there was one night in 1985 on the tank, because I was in one tanker, and we was out on maneuvers in Wild Flicker, and I had it all mapped out. I had everything planned. I said, I get out here, I'll commit suicide. Uncle Sam will make sure that it gets covered up, and not in a malicious way, but something happened out there, live fire exercises, an accident happened. And I say, in the course of that, they'll make sure that my mom and my siblings, my brothers and sisters will get any money from my insurance and all that. I had a plan, guys. I had a plan. I was gonna punch my ticket. Here I was at 19 years old, thought I had nothing to give to the world. Thought every pain that I carried from the time of 1973 up until that present time was eating me alive. Can you imagine something happening to you that transformed your life and you can't share it? Can you imagine having to be around that person who committed those things and you can't say what happened? Can you imagine others giving that person power over your very being and you can't object? All of that weighed heavy on the young kid. So I sat on the tank with a 45 that was issued to me by Uncle Sam as my training mission, my training service weapon. And I took the clip out and I put one gun in the chamber, one bullet in the chamber, and I chambered the gun. And I sat on the end of the tank and I looked up in the sky. If you've ever been on night maneuvers, anyone that's been in the military, there are no street lights. There's nothing. So it was pitch black where I was. But the only thing I could see was the stars and the little moon. And at that point in time, the moon wasn't that bright. It was just faint. And I closed my eyes and I pulled the trigger. Of course, I'm here with you today. It didn't go off. I pulled it again. And I pulled it a third time. And a rage in me raged up, so very angry. And it wasn't angry at what I was doing or the stupidity or the decision I was making. It was to the simple fact that I pulled this gun and shot it 3 times. And I couldn't even kill myself right. I was angry because I didn't succeed. And at that point in time, the moon got as bright as the sun. It lit the whole area where we were practicing, where we were doing our live maneuvers. And it shined so bright, and people were sleeping. This was late night. I waited till everybody went to sleep. This was late at night, and it was just a feeling that I had never in my life felt. Now, before that point in time, I wasn't really a spiritual person. I knew about God. I knew some things God had done. My grandparents were preachers, so I was familiar with God, but I didn't know God. I had heard about God, but I had a relationship with God. But at this point in time, there was something there in the shining of that light. And I didn't hear no Ten Commandments, Moses, nobody talking from heaven. I didn't hear no loud thunder. I didn't hear any of those theatrical things you see in movies. But all I saw was a brightness that kind of blinded me. And I felt different inside of me. And I put the holster back together and I put my gun back together and I didn't wake anybody. And we went on and we was out there another whole week. But when I came back from out of that training, I wasn't the same. I didn't go to AA. I didn't do any meetings, and it's just no knock on them. I didn't do any steps. I didn't do cold turkey. I didn't do anything. But when I got back to the base in the first weekend we had, there was an avenue to go out. Some guys was coming in, and they were way away from my dorm room. And I could smell the alcohol just as if they were in my room. And it made me sick to the stomach. At that point in time, I told them, I'm never going out with you guys again. I don't know what happened, but something happened. And I know now, over 30 years later, it was God coming into my life telling me that I had to do something different. So now we go to the point of why I do what I do. I do what I do to be vulnerable and share my story because I want to change the narrative of what people think vulnerability is. Most people marry that with oversharing and telling their deep, dark secrets. Key, I've just told you mine. It is part of it. But vulnerability allows those that's in your circle a safe space to let you know what's going on with them. I do that more so empoweredly now because that is a part of me. Not that I share the story that I share with you on every post, in every meeting, in every training that I do. But I share it strategically and intentionally to give people hope that regardless of your circumstances, you are enough, regardless of the label that someone has placed on you, whether it be from a parent, from a spouse, from a manager, or a supervisor. They all label you. And regardless of their labels that they've given to you, you make a difference. If I would leave anything with you guys today, I would leave four terms that I love to use. Believe. Believe you are enough. Believe in yourself. Encourage. Encourage the values of others you see, the value and the differences you see in others. Encourage those differences. Empower. Empower the responsibility of building connections. Build connections and relationships with people and inspire more than anything you can ever do with the story you have. Inspire others, not only to share their story, but to impact someone else's life. So yes, you often heard Brene Brown say vulnerability is your superpower. She has no idea. Superpower that I've learned from being vulnerable is not a research, it's not case studies, it's not interviews. It's a life of experience that I've lived and overcome. And I know you can too. So I appreciate you guys for letting me share that. And it was my purpose and my intention that with that you be empowered to whatever your story may be. It doesn't have to be to this grand Hollywood theatrical production. But whatever you've overcome, someone needs to know because someone in the midst of them waddling in theirs need to know that there's an answer, which is your story. So please share your story, save a life. I appreciate you guys for listening.
Carl, Shawn, so many, I can't even explain how many inspirational sound bites you just shared with us. Share your story, save a life. That's what we're here for. You're exactly right. You don't know the impact of your words. You may never know the impact of your words to another human being. But just knowing that you could save a life is huge. That's more of an incentive to step up into your power and step up as yourself. And I am so glad you are with us today to share your story because I know you've inspired me and given me more energy to step it up. Shawn, you mentioned vulnerability is a huge part of what you do and what you believe in. What advice would you give to others that are wanting to be more vulnerable but are feeling that they're stuck and they're scared to do so?
When I started this coaching and consulting business, and mind you, I started talking about vulnerability over 30 years ago, beginning in corporate. My first job as a leader, I was vulnerable with some people that was under me, and my boss that was over me told me to stop acting like a wuss and lead the people. Okay. Since a 24-year-old that just got his first leadership position, I'm excited about being able to lead people. And I was told by a boss to stop being a wuss. Can you imagine that? Stop sharing that softness.
Wow.
People need a leader. And at that point in time, I knew from my understanding of the dictionary terms that I had to change the narrative of what people thought. Because a lot of times, and what has given me that was sharing and learning the dictionary. I also learned in the essence of that how to use the words in the sentence, how to spell them, how to define them. But what I also use from knowing what they mean is how to apply them. And when you apply words that are defined, they take on a different meaning. Vulnerability to me is not what it means to you. So therein lies I can't follow the same dictionary definition that it's an exposure to harm or danger. Because to me, it's not. So I found very early that if I apply words and meaning to my life, I could get the true meaning of what that word means and not what someone suggests that it meant. So when you're a leader and you're in that position, create space, allow others, because you aren't perfect. And this is what I tell my clients. You weren't perfect. You have the opportunity to mold such creativeness, such innovativeness, such desire. People don't just come and get jobs and want to sit there and do nothing. you want to get jobs to be creative and make a difference. And you as a leader, you have to empower that difference, regardless of culture, regardless of how you may feel about it. Let them be who they were destined to be.
Well said. Well said. Any comments or feedback, or if you could relate to what Carl Shawn was saying, please feel free to speak up. Jenny?
Sure. Like Carl, this is the future of business. That we are trailblazers. We are transparent with our own journeys and giving other people permission to be themselves and to transform. So powerful to hear your personal story. It's the first time, and our connection is even deeper now. Thank you. I appreciate you very much. Mm.
Thank you, Jenny. Anyone else that could relate, or his words had an impact on, that wants to share? The comments are also amazing, by the way. Any other thoughts, Carl Shawn, before we move on, that you feel like the world needs to hear from you right now? Oh, and then we'll go to actually, let's go to Jason Freeman first. I just saw your hand. Hi, Jason.
Hi. Thanks so much, Kawhi. I just so rejoice in the goodness of the universe that that night in Germany went the way it did, and you're here with us today, and it's just such a beautiful, powerful story of healing and possibility. Thank you so much for sharing that story. Makes my life richer and all of our lives richer.
Thank you, Jason. You've done the same for me. If I can leave anything with you guys, and there's so much that I've taken away even from those that have spoke before me, and I'm sure with those that's behind me. The first step you can do, I know vulnerability is a fear, and the dictionary has made it such for you all to fear. But one thing I can tell you, once you embrace who you are, because that's all vulnerability is, a fear of who you are, a fear of who you don't want nobody to know, a fear of who you're trying to hide from. It's all vulnerability is. And when you embrace that, you'll truly see how powerful you are. Yeah, there will be losses. There's losses in everything. You're losing not being who you're destined to be. You're losing right now. So there's going to be losses. But when you put those wins and losses and stack them up against each other, every job I lost, and I lost quite a few vocalizing how I'm vocal to you guys today. I lost some nice paying jobs that people decided to hire someone else because I didn't think like they think. But I've gained way more because I stand in who I am. I believe in who I am. And I'm not threatened by anybody who says I'm different. And that is power that no one can pay you for, that no one can give to you. That is power you already harness in the midst of what you've overcome. Thank you again for letting me share.
Thank you, Carl Shawn. That was amazing. By not being vulnerable, you're losing who you're destined to be. That's pretty strong. Thank you so much. We are moving on. These have been such amazing stories. We are moving on with Bill. So Bill and I, we haven't really had a one-on-one conversation, but I feel like I've known Bill forever. He has been such a huge supporter in everything that I do, even when I doubted myself. I started, for those of you that don't know, I started experimenting and seeing what the appetite would be in forming communities via Twitter 7 years ago, via this Twitter chat called Dare to Be. And it goes on every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And it's now in its 7th, almost 8th year. And it's crazy because Bill was one of the initial people that showed up, and I will never forget that. And ever since I have built that community and built other efforts and started to have more of a strength and courage to get on LinkedIn, he continues to pop up everywhere. It's like an angel. So it's Bill is amazing, and I've seen him in his words that he shares with others. He will be your cheerleader for life if you let him. He is such a positive light. He's always there to support kindness in this world, to make sure the people that need the light, he shines extra light on them if they need a helping hand. That's what you have been to me, Bill. And I haven't even touched on everything that you do, but I just wanted to know how much, even though we've never talked, how much your presence and your aura has helped me. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you, Andrea. Let me collect myself here. What a wonderful introduction. And you make the point about Twitter and Dare to Be, and I was explaining to, I think my wife Terry, who's on the call earlier, that I think it was 5-6 years ago that we connected, and it was the Dare to Be chat, and the value you bring weekly, and you just care. And I think one of the things we can all do, and I try to do, and I thank you for your comments, but kindness can start by just showing and recognizing other people for what they do. We can share their words that resonate. We can comment. We can a few minutes of engagement every day. You never know who you might inspire to keep moving on. So thank you very much. The stories, I'm just moved. We have, and Terry and my family, a big part of my journey in my life that has shaped who I am. But I talk a lot and I preach and talk about vulnerability, and I'm a believer that everyone has a story. You hear a lot about where people say, well, here's how you need to be in business. Here's how you need to be, person who you are. Those are separate things. Well, they're no longer separate. You are one package. And if you think you can separate this package, well, you've never been broadside okay, in life. And many people, you never, and I'm going to jump ahead with a few of my themes, and then I'm going to get back on the trail of the thought here. But the overall theme in life is, to me, is people need people. This is how we must live. This is how we're going to advance and keep moving. My encouragement always is be gentle, be kind. You never know what someone else is going through. And my family, I was married in 1987, grew up in Ohio, attended Ohio University, and then my wife and Terry and 2 young kids, Livia and Ryan, we moved to Washington, D.C. area in 1996 for an amazing career opportunity that, well, here I am 25 years later. I spent about over 20 years in the sports and entertainment business. For an accounting guy, it was a dream, but what turned out to be most important was the employer's support of just an unbelievable situation. So 10 weeks after we moved, our son was diagnosed with leukemia. Today, he's a 25-year, 5-time cancer survivor. And without the support of countless people, medical community work, I would constantly, it felt like constantly, go to work and I might have to leave in 3 hours. So without the people around me that did what they needed to do and had my back and cared about me, I wouldn't have survived. And so we live our lives to pay it forward, help others. And part of helping others is just kindness. It really is. You don't know. Andrea had mentioned earlier about self-care. And when I talk about kindness, helping others, all that, I don't mean at the expense of yourself. You know, I always say, to be your best for others, you need to take care of yourself. So it's not a badge of honor to totally sacrifice yourself for everyone else because you're not bringing your best. So I do prioritize doing things and learning and things I enjoy doing, but that is ultimately with the goal of paying it forward for others for everything that has come our way. 2 years ago, my wife and I joined this Akimbo program, and similar to this environment right here, we are surrounded by a group of supportive people that it is impossible to describe. And I shouldn't say that everybody here gets it, okay, because you're here. But many people wouldn't understand. And through that experience, Terry had reached a goal in our family, but she published a book on Ryan's journey called The Focused Fight. And, you know, the encouragement in the community was, this is not about, you know, who's the one person that needs to read the book? Who's the one person that will be, if no one else were to read it, what would be that person? Well, that whole answer evolved and changed, and it ended up being the greatest gift was to Terry and our family and our son and our daughter, who the story was told. And there are so many people who have a story and don't get to tell it or don't want to tell it. And we talk about vulnerability. You know, Carl, your life is enhanced, and it's not, again, the Brene Brown oversharing. I love Brene Brown, but everybody has a story. I just can't emphasize that enough. We need to support each other. You know, today I serve on the board of Special Love, which is a nonprofit organization that supports children and families battling cancer. It's near and dear to our son and our family. And we can't help enough. The greatest use of our time is to be there for others. And when I say be there for others, I'm talking, we can talk about social media. Andrea, if you were to go look at my tweets, you'd see a lot of stuff about childhood cancer. We can all pick topics that we really deeply care about and share about it. And I would encourage anyone to do that. And it's not, what does my boss think? What does my wife think? Though I care what she thinks. If my intent is good, I'm out there to try to help. Okay. And we all have that freedom and that choice. So, that in life and business and encouraging young professional, I have a twin brother, by the way, he professionally has helped carry me at some very desperate times. We're in the same profession. So if you ask my wife, we do. We talk several times a day, probably. And a lot of it is brainstorming about stuff. But it all comes back to how can we help others in all we do? Okay. If you learn something, share it. Share it in real life. Help others find their voice. And it all comes from my family experience, and it all comes from people like you sharing your stories. So thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Thank you so much, Bill. I had no idea all that extra work that you do on the side, and it's very, very extremely touching. I know lots of people here have their own initiatives, and I want to particularly call out Tim's son that you should connect with, because he does some great initiatives around similar areas. So I love
you.
I love when there's an opportunity to have people connect. Does anyone have any comments or just words for Bill? Daphine.
Yes, I was trying not to say anything because I'm just truly enjoying what everyone is saying. But Bill kind of, well, he did hit the, how do you say it, the nail. He did hit the hammer on the nail, if I'm saying it right. Y'all reverse it if it's wrong. But anyway, yeah, sharing your story saves a life. And as Carl said as well, and I just reflect back on my story coming from being a preacher's kid, life was good, dog, cat, mom, dad, everybody's happy. And my mother passed away, and it was like, oh my God, what's next? And didn't know that I needed to go through a tribulation, which allows me to be on this Zoom with everyone. And yes, my story has saved a life. And talking about going through the criminal justice system with my husband who was wrongfully accused, and that was like unbelievable. And so, we made it through that tribulation. And I have a new little acronym now I put on earlier, PCH, perseverance, character, and hope. And that is the thing that can get us through. And I did post a song by my daughter, Let Love Win, so y'all can click the link and listen to her song that she wrote, Let Love Win. And that's what we're doing here. We're letting love win. Thank you.
That's beautiful, Daphne, and it's so good to see you as well.
Yeah, thank you, Daphne.
Daphne, I think you need to tell your story next time. We'd love to hear it. Anything else for Bill? Joy.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, each person. What comes up to me in the work that you're doing is there's a spiritual book that I've been reading that was channeled from Jesus called The Way of Mastery. And it says that we are communication devices here on the earth plane to extend the good, the holy, and the beautiful. That is our only reason for being.
Thank you. That's it's a great way to be thinking and behaving. I mean, it's wonderful.
Beautiful, Joy. Tim, I'm so sorry. I missed your hand. Go ahead, Tim.
That's okay. No worries. Bill, I want to thank you so much for sharing. I am a 15-year leukemia survivor. And so I wanted to thank you so much for sharing and sending so much love and prayers your way to you and your family. And I'm definitely going to check out the book and would love to connect with you and, have a conversation with you and, share our stories more in depth.
Thank you, Tim. I look forward to that. That's congratulations, and keep putting the good out there. I mean, there's
Likewise.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tim. And Tim is very humble. He has this incredible show that supports people that have been to similar journeys or just have stories. So check that out as well. Anyone else? I want to, and I see Hallie. Hi, Hallie. Nice to see you. Hallie will be next. But before we get to Hallie, I wanted to call out these comments have been amazing. I have to read them after this rally is over to fully soak them all in. But where's Kelly? Is Kelly still on? Hi, Kelly. I don't mean to call you out, but there's two things that you said that really stood out to me. You said, we are interdependent, not independent. And then just now you put, we are wounded healers. Can you speak more about that? Because that was really deep and really touched me. Oh, I don't think we can hear you, Kelly. Now you're muted. Try unmute yourself again. Yeah, unfortunately we can't hear you, but feel free and type in any additional insights in the chat, because your words have been amazing. Everyone's words, but yours in particular, I wanted to learn more. Thank you so much for being here, Kelly. Anything else for Bill? Bill, I think you are officially named the pop-up angel. I saw that in the chat. Pop-up angel for people that need it. What an honor. What an honor. Oh, okay. Anything else for Bill? So it's been truly amazing. And shout out to Don, your twin brother, who's here, and shout out to your wife, Terry, who's here as well. Anyone else from Tim's family that's here? Hello and welcome. Okay, I want to move forward with Hallie Avolio. Hallie is another amazing soul that I've been following for a while now. And I just recently spoke with her for the first time yesterday, but I have for sure been following her work for a long time. And I am just so thrilled that she's here. She's just also just released a book, and it's just so many things on the horizon. But I began this whole rally today speaking about my word being love and self-love. And coincidentally, although I don't believe in coincidence, she is a strong advocate for the manifestation of self-love, which I learned later on in our conversation, which is, Hallie, I didn't share this with you yesterday, but that is something that I have struggled with. And I believe we connected at the time that I really need to hear your words. So Hallie, I'm so happy that you're here. Your aura is extremely positive, and you truly have this light that I believe can touch so many people more than you already have, and you're just getting started. So I can't wait to hear more about you.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I'm honored to be here, first of all, and it's so lovely to see so many familiar faces and also so many faces that I haven't met or seen before. So it's great to get to know you, and I just would love to invite anyone who would like to connect further after this. Please feel free to reach out. I know Andrea is sharing contact info, and I can pop it in the chat as well. And Bill, I look forward to going back to you and to all the other speakers. I live in California, so I have kind of a nothing before 9 a.m. rule in my own boundary setting, which is part of self-love. So it is 9:15 now California time, so I had to get on when it was appropriate for me, and that's part of self-love. So I did want to share that message. There's so many things that I want to say, and I'm trying to think what's mostly on my heart. So two things are coming up for me. Number one, Bill, I'm sorry that I missed your chat, and I do look forward to hearing it again, because all the comments that have been inspired by what you spoke of, even though I don't know the context or the content in this moment, I feel a lot of love and connection through the words that you shared. So that's really powerful. And, my first thought that ran through my head was, oh my gosh, that's a tough act to follow. He just had this very inspiring talk that all these beautiful comments came out of it. How am I to follow that, right? This is like my initial gut reaction ego, right? And then my higher self switched into, wait a second, Hallie, you have something powerful to share. And that is not in comparison to anything that Bill or anyone else said. And that is really the essence of self-love, right? Is that we all have a story to tell. And Daphne, I hope I said your name correctly. I love what you said about, wanting to share your story. And you said something about, kind of a white picket fence kind of life, right? Like the mom, the dad, right? That was my story. And for a long time, I guess I carried a lot of shame that the kind of trials and tribulations that I went through in my life were not worthy. They were not hard enough. They were not traumatic enough, right? I wasn't worthy to feel bad or shamed or traumatized or any of those words because it wasn't bad enough. Fortunately, I didn't have any life-threatening diseases or accidents or deaths, and I'm grateful. But what I've gone through in my life is still, it presented its own challenges for me that I've learned from. I actually, as Andrea just said, I just had a book come out. I was part of a book collaboration that I'm really, really proud of. And 19 women came together to write their stories. The title of the book is called Feisty: Dangerously Amazing Women Using Their Voices to Make an Impact. And I believe that everyone on this call would benefit from hearing these stories. My chapter, of course, was its own journey for me to live through and share in written form. But as I'm reading the book and hearing the other authors' chapters and reading their experiences, I'm so moved by how everyone is showing up exactly in this sort of essence that is of this call today, right? Sharing your stories from your heart, being in a place of love, all with the intention of, if I share my story, it can help someone else, right? Because I think, Bill, you just said, for whatever reason, not everyone has an opportunity to tell their story. Maybe they're not ready to do it. Maybe they don't have a platform to do it, or they don't perceive that they have a platform to do it, right? So I believe that the more that we tell our stories, the more that we give voice to those who cannot for whatever reason. And that's one of the things I'm most proud about in this book. And if you'd like to get it, this isn't the plug, of course, but it is on Amazon, and it's a 99-cent Kindle version, which is cool. So I definitely recommend that from just kind of continuing this conversation. But my next thing that I want to share is really about self-love and why it's so important to me. And just to give you a little background, and then I want to read you something I wrote. Self-love is really, I believe, our purpose on this earth is to come back to self-love. And I lived a good chunk of my life worrying, comparing, feeling like I had to do for others all the time. And that was why I was here, to always show up. And as I call it in the book, I called it my gold star bearing good girl. I felt like I had to be a gold star bearing good girl, to the nines all the time. And that was how I would live my life. And the pressure that put on me was eventually too much. And my true self acted out in rebellion and in self-destructive behaviors, because then I couldn't reconcile with how to find this harmony within. And so I had to go down a self-destruction path and a toxic path and hurt myself and my family. And, I look back on those times and it was very painful. My relationship with my kids was stilted. My relationship with my husband almost, we've been married now. It'll be 19 years in June. And we almost didn't make it. And there were a lot of times, there were several years where we were really struggling. And, I share it in the book, and I was doing some Facebook Lives this week to read some excerpts from the book, just in announcing it. And I got to the part where it was like kind of at the worst moment with my husband, and I couldn't even go on reading it out loud on the live because it was still raw for me. And I'm so grateful every day that I went through that, because if I hadn't gone through the fights and the struggle and the drinking and the self-destruction, the overeating, the beating myself up, the looking myself in the mirror, hating myself more than I can even express to you verbally, because the thoughts in my head were so overpowering that all I could see was failure. All I could see was failure within. And if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So I'm grateful. And the thing about self-love is, I believe when we are born, when we are babies, we love ourselves, right? We have no reason not to. We are born with love. And at some point over the next couple of years in toddler time, etc., we are told that we are not enough, right? There are many moments where we are told no, that we don't feel that love for ourselves anymore. We feel shame, we feel comparison, we feel embarrassment. And I believe that it is the human journey and the spiritual journey to go through that suffering of feeling the love and then forgetting what it's about, unlearning it, so that you can relearn how to love yourself from a conscious state of being. Because in the relearning, that's where the self-love is the most pure. And it's a journey. It's a lifelong journey. And to me, that feels why we are all here, and why we are here together right now, is because we are all on that journey of relearning how to love ourselves. So I'd like to share something that I wrote for, actually, it's for my mastermind group. Our topic for February is self-love. And this is just part of something that I shared with them. But I said, my definition of self-love is embodying the energy of your most authentic self and allowing yourself to live in accordance to your core values, so that you accept yourself fully and completely and can access a state of joy as often as possible. When you were born, you loved yourself. External circumstances can make us forget, and therefore we have to relearn how to love ourselves. While this process can seem painful, challenging, even ominous and foreboding, I believe that our journey back to self-love is the greatest gift we can give ourselves. Because when we choose to love ourselves from a place of intention, awareness, consciousness, and joy, we truly connect to our deepest truths, and we have the opportunity to manifest everything we desire. This is how we step into our purpose. So that's what I want to share about self-love. And we all have a story to tell. And wherever you are at on your journey, just right now in this moment, you are exactly where you are meant to be. And all we know is the present moment, right? All we have is this. If we live in the past or we worry about the future, we're missing this. And this is one of my core teachings and how I live my life, which I didn't always know. I didn't know this until maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And it keeps getting reinforced and reinforced and reinforced every day, because I make a conscious choice to be here in this moment. And it's so easy for us to get distracted, right? We've got phones chirping. We've got people talking to us. We have all these distractions in our lives. But truly, if you can be right here in this present moment with you, with yourself, allow those thoughts, even the ones that you don't like, and just allow them to be, and then say, I hear you, I see you, and I'm choosing a new thought. And, I don't want to go over time, but I want to share one just quick. This was in the shower this morning, an hour ago. I got into a thing in my head where I was beating myself up about, some things I did yesterday. Like, I didn't eat very healthy, and I felt like I was not supporting my best health, even though that's something that is important to me. And in the shower, I'm like, why did I eat all those snacks? Why was I eating all those cookies? And I was going down this rabbit hole in my head, while in the shower this morning. And then I caught myself saying it. I was like, girl, you need to just chill out. Take a breath. Take a breath. you're good. You're good because you show up for yourself every day. And yeah, we're not perfect and it's all good. And I love myself. And even on the moments when I don't eat the healthiest, or maybe I eat too many snacks, or I don't do the workout, or whatever, I'm still good because I love myself. And I have so many beautiful things within me. So I was able to check that thought at the door, reframe it, and say, I am here to live my best life. I choose to consciously create a life that I love right now in this moment. And those are my real thoughts from the shower this morning. Like, this is how I work in my mind, right? And you can reprogram your thoughts. You can use affirmations, which is the cornerstone of the work that I do, to build a self-love that is so limitless that you feel it in your being, even in your worst moments. That you know, I love myself at my core. And even when I falter, I'm still awesome. So that's what I wanted to share. And I'm open to any questions, comments.
Amazing. Amazing, Hallie. Amazing. I so needed to hear that today. And this was not even planned. And it's
meant to be.
Wow. Yeah, truly meant to be. And I know from the comments you've touched a lot of people. You said a couple things that really got me thinking. Our purpose on this earth is to come back to self-love, and it's all about relearning it, because when we relearn it, it's in its purest form. And that, I had never thought about that. But that makes sense. And now I don't feel so guilty of not having self-awareness that I didn't love myself before, because I suddenly felt like I woke up and I am in this relearning phase. So that definitely makes sense. And what I love the most is, and this applies to right now with everybody here, if we live in the past and worry about the future, we're missing this. We're missing this. And not necessarily worthy rally for hope and kindness, but this, hearing the stories, the opportunity to be here and listening to Carl, Shawn, to Jason, to Rachel, to Hallie, to Bill, all these people today that you may have never, ever, probably never thought you would be hearing in this moment in time, but you are here for a reason. That's really powerful. Thank you, Hallie. I want to open it up to anybody else that would like to say something to Hallie. Actually, I want to go to Carl Shawn, because Carl Shawn was going to say something before, and I completely missed his hand being up. So Carl Shawn, please.
That's all right, Matt. I think I didn't know if it was all the way in the screen or not. Hallie, I've been following you. First of all, just want to tap on what Bill said. Bill, you are a champion, my friend. You and Terry, you guys are champions. That the movement that you're on is transformational, and the story that you share is just transformational. I know I've talked to Tim and know his personal story as well, and I've got a few cancer stories in my family as well. So I've been there in the suffering part of that. They haven't all overcome. A lot of them has left us, but the battle is real, and I'm there. I'm there for you. Call on me anytime. Anytime that you need me, I'm there. But I don't have space on the calendar, I'll make it, because it's important to me to be there for things that mean something. So I just want to say that to you, and I'll tap on Hallie as well. Hallie, I've been following you for quite a while. I had not knew the depths of your story, but I've always enjoyed your content, your spirit, and your heart. And you said something that really touched, and I think everybody should take this in as it resonates to each and every individual. That self-love has to be retaught. We've forgotten how to do that. We've had so many things happen in our lives in the midst of our stories that has changed us, and we don't know how to do that anymore. We really don't. We don't know how to have self-love, or if we do, we have some distorted definition of what someone says it is to benefit them, and we don't have that. And I truly applaud you for the education, should I say, like my grandmother say, education of us to understand that it is a taught thing that we have to continue to teach ourselves. And we have to stand in it. I applaud you for not doing that before 9 a.m. I am not there yet. I'm not there yet. So I applaud you for taking that you have this place where this is where I stand and this is for me. And I appreciate that, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Carl Shawn. I see Shell, and then we'll go with Bill. Shell?
Yeah, first off, everybody shared such amazing stories today. Like, I have been on the brink of tears quite a few times. If you see me touch my nose, it's always a thing that I'm fighting back tears. And sometimes I don't fight it, I just let them out. But Hallie, you said something about you always felt called to do for others. And it's what resonated with me there so much is that we forget about ourselves. Loving yourself isn't selfish. That's the message that I bring to everybody, to the world. And I also was a people pleaser. I'm still sometimes a people pleaser, recovering. It's hard to break that cycle of do, constantly doing for others and forgetting about ourselves. So that relearning that you've talked about is so powerful, and reconnecting with loving yourself and recognizing that it's not selfish to put yourself first. So love the boundaries, just like Carl mentioned, of not coming on before your set time. I also have that for myself, but mine is 11 a.m. So it worked out for me that I could be here today at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And just again, like, thank you so much for sharing your story, and everybody else for sharing your wonderful stories too. They really resonate. I was taking notes so that I can connect with you all afterwards too. Like, they resonated with me on so many levels.
Thank you, Shell. So great to see you again.
Andrea, can I add one quick thing that
Of course, please.
That just reminded me, and thank you, Shell, for your comments, and Carl Shawn as well. Last year, I had a very transformational spiritual experience by accessing the Akashic records. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but that's another time conversation. But the message that came through to me very clear was around self-love. And it said, the question was, how do I know that I love myself unconditionally? And the message that came through to me was a Hebrew word, hineni, which means here I am. And it said, hineni, here I am, as in, yes, I'm on a journey, but I love myself. Here I am. And so I actually got it tattooed on my wrist. And that's what it says, if you can see, to remind myself every single day, hineni, here I am, because how I am in this moment is my truth. Thank you.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Can you put the name of what you referenced just now, Hallie?
Oh yeah, I'll put it in this chat.
That's amazing. Anything else for Hallie? Oh yeah, sorry, Bill.
That's all right. That's all right. Hallie, that's wonderful. I mean, everybody's been amazing here. You made one comment that resonates. Well, you made a lot of comments, but this one, I had made some notes and said I need to follow up on that. And you said, we need to be with ourselves, be with yourself. And, I've become an avid reader, and I like to think that I take time to sit and self-reflect, but the noisiest place in the world can be our own head. Okay. And I've developed a routine where the morning, my wife knows this, if we've got plans, and the morning I need about an hour before I do anything. I get up, I go to the back of the house, and I read. I've just got this routine I go through, and part of that is just sitting and saying, what is today about? And what am I feeling? What am I thinking? And I just think that's so valuable. So thank you for mentioning that.
Thank you, Bill. That's quite powerful as well. I appreciate you sharing that routine. Anyone else? I'm making sure I'm not missing any hands or anything. And if I do miss hands, just say, Andrea, hello. Wonderful. Hallie, thank you so much. That's very powerful. And I can't wait to hear where you're headed next in your journey. So last but not least, we have another Jason Ellinger. And Jason Ellinger, we just spoke for the first time yesterday, very briefly. And actually, I connected with him not too long ago either, but it's just the way he showed up on LinkedIn made me stop and see, I think I got to get to know this person. This person has something. I don't know what it is quite yet, but they need to be on the rally. They have something that they need to share with the world. And Jason has so much expertise, and I'll let him talk to you about that and his passion. And he has the story of courage and defying the odds and really looking out for what his heart was telling him to do, despite anything else. And I'm so glad you are here, Jason, and I can't wait to hear more of your story.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on. Hold on, I got to get my storytelling hat on. The bowler. Okay, I think I'm ready now. I hear a common thread throughout all of these incredible speakers, and I mean, just throw up some hands, like some clappy hands for these speakers, because they were like amazing. The stories resonated with me on different levels. Each one of them, they were just incredible. And the common thread is stories and how important they are. They need to be told. And I'm going to tell you how we're doing that, kind of with my own story, and then how we intend to help get the word out about these stories. So Beard and Bowler is my company, commercial filmmakers. We help nonprofits raise funds and awareness through the power of storytelling and video. My background, grew up single mom, not rich by any means, but not poor. I mean, we got the Thanksgiving box from church a few times, but definitely weren't poor. We never wanted for anything. But growing up without a dad, like so many others and other guys that I meet, always left me seeking, I guess, male approval or mentorship, if that makes sense. It always kind of left a hole there. My professional career, I've always had jobs in retail and customer service, Home Depot, Sears, like that sort of thing, where it leaves you wondering at the end of the day, what am I doing here? Like, what is the point of this? Am I just making a paycheck? Like, why am I here? But in 2007, I started a video company, and I launched what was still considered a luxury item just before the 2008 recession. So that was a fun couple of years to navigate and figure out business and being a business owner. I went on for a little while. It was okay. I was living in my mom's basement. It was all good. I could still afford to do that and start a company, because anybody who has started a company knows, like, it's expensive, and you may not want to do it if you have like a full family and just stop your daytime job. So I was able to do it, and I could afford it for a little bit. But fast forward a few years later, I'm getting married. I needed a bit more stability. Like, I had to get a full-time job. I needed benefits. I kind of felt like a failure because my identity was tied up in my success and the success of my business. At that point, I had to move my business to the backseat, almost like a hobby. And that was a sad point in time for me. So it was a failure. I mean, it still kept it going because I'm stubborn, right? But it was a failure. I decided I wanted to work if I was going to get a job, like a day job, I had to do something at least in a similar field. I didn't want to work with a competitor, but maybe something with video. And something came across my computer screen that there's a position opening up for a photojournalist, a hard news photojournalist. And that brought me to a lot of interesting places in New Jersey where I reside now. I had the 4 a.m. to noon shift. So I got lucky when I went to the bad parts of town. You know, a lot of the riffraff had already gone to bed by 4:30. But every day was fires, shootings, stabbings, assaults, murders, politicians. I don't know why that fell in that category, but like every day it was negativity. I got to a point where I think the pinnacle for me, or maybe the low point for me, was going to, my assignment editor called me up and said, I want you to go to an 11-year-old's funeral and cover that. And I think this must have been like the second or third kid's funeral that I cover. And the reporter just kind of nudges me. She's on her phone tweeting about it, that as is her job. And she just kind of nudges me and says, go get the mom. And I said, what do you mean, go get the mom? And she's like, go interview the mom. We need sound from the mom. I mean, I called my assignment editor, like, for some advice, like, how do I even do this? Luckily or unluckily, there are other news stations there. So you can, when that happens, you can just kind of pile in and hold a microphone. But as I'm standing there interviewing this weeping mom who had just lost her son, I kind of was still justifying it to myself. Like, maybe somebody will see this. Maybe somebody will learn from the mistakes of others, and I won't be back here again. I was back there next week, next day sometimes. Nothing changed. Nothing really made an impact. I felt at that point that I was doing more harm than good, and I needed to get out. So I started meeting with my friend, who I called my guru. And he had his head on straight, had his family, solid job, had his head on straight. And he kind of sat me down and said, all right, what do you want to do? And I said, video. I still feel like it's going to make it has potential to make the biggest impact. Okay, but what kind of video? You know, news is not doing it for you. When you work your own company, you work with some big brands, but like, that wasn't doing it for you. I'm sure you don't want to do fashion. And I recalled the story of a guy by the name of Willie. He was an urban farmer in probably one of the worst parts of Patterson. It was on the corner of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and Rosa Parks Boulevard. And whenever you hear a street named after those people, like, stuff goes down on that street. And this dude was at the corner of both of those streets, across from 2 burned down buildings. And he found a plot of land, like 2 plots of land, and he started an urban garden right in the worst part of the neighborhood. And he couldn't even get stuff to grow there because the dirt was so polluted. He brought in his own dirt, did this all on his own dime, and started a community garden. And it grew and it expanded, and he brought kids in and showed them, mentored them, showed them how to work the dirt and the earth with their hands, and held a farmer's market every other weekend. And he said, you know, you can't afford to donate, just take a bag of vegetables. And that struck me. Like, you don't, in the murders and the fires and right across the street, the 2 burned down buildings where I probably covered that story, like, there's this man who is a light in a very dark area that is just like, it feels like it lights up the whole town. In a town where there would be many people I talk to around here just go through and say, there's no hope. You know, I don't like going there. I don't like going. But when you hear these stories, people with no resources doing this, like, I told my guru, I was like, that's the guy, that's the story. I could tell that story every day. Like, I could find them, I could tell them, those are the stories worth telling. Those are the stories that are going to make an impact, a ding in the universe. And my guru says to me, he's like, I want to do that too, man, but the problem is there's no money in that. And to couple it off with that problem, I had to get out of the news. So we started brainstorming, and I think the good place that we were at was that we had found the why. We started with why. If anybody needs a book to start with. Start with Why by Simon Sinek. And we found it. We found the why. That was it. Those stories like Willie, how do we get those stories out there? My probably fast forward maybe 3 months, my guru's day job was a Baptist preacher. He had a small congregation, maybe like 50, 75 people, but he had a big parking lot in a well-to-do area. Down the road from him was this burgeoning agency that was like bursting at the seams with growth. They couldn't fit everybody in their building. Definitely couldn't fit everybody in their small 5-car parking lot. So the agency owner came to my guru and said, "Hey, can I use your parking lot?" And he offered to pay him. He said, "I don't want any money." And he said, "No, I need to give you some money. They've been using this parking lot every day for the weekend." My guru says, "Dude, it's a parking lot. Just use the parking lot." He would not take this guy's money. He came to me and told me, knowing that we had just had this conversation, and he said, "There's this guy down the road, owns a marketing agency. He wants to pay me for the park. I'm not taking the money." But he said, I've got a plan. And the smile that crept across his face, I knew he was cooking up something. He wanted to use his favor that had been like building up for a year of this guy using this parking lot on me to help me out. And that kind of hit me too. Like, you could ask this guy for anything, he's wealthy, he's got money, and he wanted to use the favor on me. We had decided that we were going to go to him and pitch him and tell him what we were doing. I'd worked with agencies before. They're a good source of income for a video production company because they have multiple projects for you at any given time. And it just so happened a friend from high school had called me and mentioned that he was volunteering at a nonprofit organization called Hope and Future Center, which is in West New York, New Jersey, probably one of the most densely populated areas of this state, and no community center. So this teacher had started a nonprofit where kids could come after school so they wouldn't get in trouble for misdemeanors like spray painting or locked up or whatever. Their parents are working 2 or 3 jobs, so they're not home. And this guy started a nonprofit for them just to have a place for these kids to come, which struck a chord with me because mentorship, I was always seeking out when I was a kid. And my mom got me in Boys and Girls Club, but I never really stuck with anybody. And they started this. They had Xboxes set up on big projector screens, basketball courts. And he said it's those little moments where you're sitting on the couch and, the kids come to you. And there's just those small, short opportunities where you get a chance to speak into a kid's life. That's why I do this. And I said, let's figure out how to do a video for this guy. We did a video for this guy. We put our pitch together. We brought that to the agency, and they saw the video, their jaws dropped. Like, the passion that we poured into this, I can't explain, but like when you do a video, you can do your work, but then you can pour your passion and your heart into that. And I always say I leave a little piece of me on every project that I do. And it's there throughout all of our work, right? They saw it and they loved it. Yeah, I think one of them was in tears, and they just stood up, and if there were tables, they were flipping them. They loved the video so much. They're like, we've been working with another video company, but just like, it's nothing like this. Like, where did you, they got so excited. They started amping each other up. They said, okay, you're going to need some money. You want to start a company? You're going to need some money. If you want to do this, you're going to need 50K. You're going to need 50K to do this. You know what? You're going to need 100. You're going to need 100K if you want to quit your job and you want to start this company. It's a lot. And that's not your salary. That's expenses for business. You're going to have overhead. And the agency owner worked himself up so much that he said, okay, Jay, Matt, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to put down $50,000. The key is you have to go out and find the other $50,000, and I'm going to match it at that point. I mean, it took us a day to come down from that meeting and understand what just happened there. My partner went back we went back, we met at the church where he worked. And in his congregation of like 50, 70 people, there was one person that was doing quite well. He offered to match. I think it was the next day, maybe 2 days later, agency owner pulled up into the parking lot and was like, "What's up, guys? How's it going?" And my partner said to him, "We got the money." The dude almost drove through the church. He realized he had to put his money where his mouth was. It was insane. But it ended up being a year-long retainer where they would pay us monthly, which was a lot better because I don't know what I would have done with $50,000. It would have been gone, and it was better that it was worked out that way to be in a year-long retainer. I told my guru that I could not do this without him. Like, he'd been so helpful to me. He'd given me so much advice. He'd given me so much work. All this volunteer, by the way. He'd come with me on projects and help me interview. I'd give him checks. You can give them to me. I'm not going to cash them. They'd be sitting on his dresser if I went into his house. Like, he was just that kind of dude. So I said, you have to come in with this on me. You have to take a piece of this. Like, I can't do this without you. November of 2016, we incorporated Beard and Bowler, and my guru, Matt, is my business partner to this day. Matt had his sermons written up for like the next 6 months because he's just like a hard worker. So he had space to work. We started to get to work in his small church office there for the next year or so. The agency introduced us to a nonprofit organization that they volunteered at, Eva's Village. They told us you should probably figure out a way to do a video for them. And we did a video for them at no cost. They had this 17-year heroin addict who had never told his story before on video. And he made it past his addiction. He beat his addiction. He got clean. And now he's like their events director that brings in like millions of dollars on a yearly basis. And we did that story. We did it for free. It blew up for them. And the attention and the money that it brought in for them was just astounding. And even more so, just like to be able to tell his story of like, from like no hope to hope with that guide of the nonprofit that helped him out. That was the real win for us. And that somebody recognized us to be the one to tell this story. So something funny happened. A regional branch of Wells Fargo brought them a grant of $30,000 and said that they wanted to do something different. The organization called us right away and they told us, okay, we want to do more than one video with this, but please, this is it. This is what we want to use this. This is what we want to invest this into. We did a slew of videos for them, about videos, key staff videos. But among the videos was a woman who we just go by, Rose D was her code name. And she was a heroin addict who they had helped get clean. I mean, the story was just so life altering, like shooting heroin while she was pregnant. She lost both of her kids. She was homeless. They helped her. They rehabilitated her. They have a cooking school that they took her through so that she could have a purpose and not relapse. The video ended with her kids running into her arms. She got her kids back, right? Nobody even heard the last line of "This is where hope begins," because they were applauding because the kids came back, and that was the win. We showed that at their gala, 500 people. And their previous galas had brought in like 670,000 in a night. And they were a solid nonprofit. When we showed this, they broke a record and hit $1 million in one night. That's when my partner and I realized that we had something, and that we had something that would make a difference. When you have a live audience, especially at a nonprofit or a fundraiser, they vote with their dollars. So if you have something flat, but if you have something that's a story of how you helped someone get from point A to point B, it's something People give with their hearts, not with their heads. It's not financial. Same thing that people buy with. They buy with their heart, their gut. They don't buy with their head. They justify it later with their head, but they buy with their heart. We realized that we had something that was special here. The agency started bringing us more work above and beyond the retainer, so our corporate work increased as well. But more than that, corporate companies started coming to us saying, like, we love what you did with Eva's Village, this nonprofit organization. Could you tell our story? And it was just such a passion project that we did for a nonprofit that had nothing to do with like any of these brands that were coming to us, but they just saw it. They saw the passion there. They saw the story. They're like, we have something special too. Could you tell our story? In writing this and helping the bullets to help keep my story in order, and looking back at all the little things that got us here, like the retail, the customer service, the knowing how to keep people happy in that time. My first video company, learning business, failing business, Matt being a preacher and telling stories professionally multiple times a week, my time in the news, quick setups, lightning fast setups, how to interview really intense stories while controlling your emotions and reacting non-verbally to prompt even more of a response. I realized that like my entire life had been building up to this point. And for anybody, I didn't realize that until I was reading something and they talked about the story of David. And David and Goliath is all we hear about, right? But you don't hear about that time years before he beat Goliath, where he was sitting in a field guarding sheep, like the lowest of low jobs. Like his family hid him away. Like, we don't even want this to show you this kid. And he's sitting there guarding sheep, probably wondering what he's doing, learning how to play music to soothe their souls and guarding the sheep, but also figuring out how to fight off enemies, bears and lions. And that whole time was his preparation for what he was meant to do, that moment with Goliath. So to encourage anybody struggling or feeling stuck, like, you might be in a preparation mode for what your whole life is leading up to. We've been able to help nonprofits raise millions in a few short years we've been doing this, but more so than that, we've pumped dozens of inspirational and relatable stories into the world. But there's so much more work to be done. So that's why this year we're starting a nonprofit ourselves, largely funded off the profits from our business, but to tell the stories like Willie, the Hope and Future Center, Rose D, all of the other nonprofits that don't have the resources to bring us on, or even individuals who start a worthy movement, or like the soccer mom at home who has a story that could inspire others to positive action in this world, but just doesn't know where to start. Our nonprofit's going to be something that helps facilitate these stories, gives them a platform, and tells them in a way where people are gonna relate, understand, and take action. I hope I've inspired you a little bit. I appreciate your time. And yeah, any questions, I'm open.
Thank you so much, Jason. What a story. And I'm so glad the stars were aligned for you and that you followed that journey and what you were meant to be. Thank you truly so much for sharing. I know we're at time, but does anyone have any quick words for Jason? Bill.
Jason, thank you very much. That you really brought it home there when the comment you made was you might be in the middle of going through all these things, but you're getting to where it's all going to come together. And one of my favorite social media posts, I should go, but Tanmay Vora is, and he's got just a post that, move and the way appears. And Don and I always encourage it, just keep moving on your mission, keep moving. And you may go down a road where, this is not where I expected it to go, but this is even better. So you just keep keep iterating, keep going. And I think you hit it right there. It's not like this, it's this. Okay. So congratulations. Great story.
Congratulations indeed. Mike?
Yes, well, my 4-year-old is entertained. I really want to thank Andrea for this, because you always hold space for this, right? And you spend a lot of time and a lot of energy and put so much of yourself into this event on a monthly basis. And I truly, truly appreciate you doing this, because the hope that comes from other people's journeys and stories creates an environment where we inspire others to be self-inspired and empower others to be self-empowered. And those are the greatest gifts that we can give anyone on this planet, because no one can take them away from us once we get them. So I want to thank every speaker for this, because I think everybody was amazing and sharing their story and finding their definitive purpose in life, right? To where they can make their impact and live within their passion and inspire others to do the same is one of the most powerful things that can be done. So I really do appreciate you, Andrea, and every single person that's been here. So I just wanted to thank everybody.
Thank you so much, Mike. And Mike also is one of those that have been supporting me from the very beginning, one of the first speakers, actually. So follow Mike. He has great stuff as well. Anyone else? I can't believe those 2 hours went by so fast. So many powerful, powerful stories. And Sejal.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for everybody to share their stories. And I just kind of jotted down, I mean, I've got like 4 pages of notes here of quotes and things, but I think the themes that really jumped out with me from everybody's stories was that everyone here has resilience, you know, and just the resilience to get through difficult times. And, you know, it's not a competition or a comparison as to what somebody else goes through. You know, as Hallie was saying, it's what we experience in our own lives, you know, and how we overcome that. So the resilience was just always something that I'm drawn to, people that have resilience. And then from that resilience, power, you know, to determine that you have this power that unless you go through these experiences, you don't realize that you have the power and the strength to get through that. And then to be able to use that to show that you have a choice. And Rachel, you did such a good job at really, you know, I truly believe that we have a choice in how we respond to things. And I try to keep that at the top of my mind. But between the resilience, the power, and the choice, and I just posted about this the other day. I said, you know, I wrote this down: difficult paths lead you to your most beautiful self, right? And so through those things, we can come out and we can look like the pandemic is a perfect example, right? Of everybody kept saying we're all going through the same thing. And my thing was, well, we're going through a pandemic together, but what we're individually going through in our own homes and our own experiences is very different from the person next to us. But we do have a choice, right? We can take that situation and use our power and resilience to help other people. And so all of you have inspired me so much today. It is very hard work to do, to share our stories, you know, and to be vulnerable in that way. It does deplete our energy. And so this theme of self-love is something that I'm learning about. And so I'll just end with this, you know, we beat ourselves up too much. You know, Hallie, I had the same conversation in my head, like literally often. But a couple days ago, you know, I put myself on this project. And again, nobody else knows about this project. It's in my own thing, right? Because I have my own business. I'm my own boss. And so no one's going to be beating me down if I don't get this stupid spreadsheet done. But literally for like 2 weeks, I was stressing out over it. I was waking up late, waking up in the morning, working on it. And I was in the shower and the same thing happened. And I'm like, what are you doing? Chill out. You know, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Like you can only do so much with finite resources. So I just want to just say thank you to everybody, because I feel renewed. I feel re-energized to kind of keep doing what we're all doing and spreading the messages that we all have. But so thank you everybody for being part of this experience for me today and inspiring me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sejal. Sejal's amazing. So please, please follow Sejal if you don't know of her or of her work. Your support, continuous support means so much to me, Sejal. And thanks for those kind words. I know we are a little bit over, but oh my goodness, this has been an amazing 2 hours. And again, I want to thank our speakers, Rachel, Jason, Carl, Shawn, Bill, Hallie. Truly, truly in awe of what you shared and that you chose this platform and were open to share your amazing voices in this platform today. We have these at the last Saturday of every month, so I hope you can join in again. Also, I just unveiled in YouTube, if you want to see this session in the next few days, it will be a recording available. If you want to see all the other sessions that you may have missed or that you've spoken in, I finally have a YouTube channel with all the recordings of all the rallies. Finally. So just look up a worthy rally for hope and kindness, and all the recordings are there. So I hope to see you again next time, and thank you guys all. Believe in yourself and love yourself. Bye.